Within 1 month, my income tripled for
Wow.
audio. And so that was like huge. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, like this is awesome.
You upload your audiobooks to your YouTube channel for anyone to listen to for free, yet you're still making revenue
Yes.
from your audiobooks despite that.
Yes. I would say actually because of it. There are a lot of people that say like, well, if you offer it for free, then, nobody's going to go and buy from these other places. You can go on any of my videos and like scroll down and like without fail, you will find a comment that says, I loved this so much that I went and bought the paperbacks. So it's like, it's free advertising for your books. And again, when you're going wide with your audio, why not advertise for free? YouTube is like one of my top 3 income revenue sources
Really?
for my
Wow.
month.
Hello and welcome back to the Pint and Portal Author Podcast. I am your host, Herman Stuernagel, and today I have got a fun episode for you. I'm sitting down with author and narrator Cindy Gunderson. I've known Cindy for quite a few years now. We were in the writing community together, as you will hear during the interview. The exciting thing about what Cindy is doing right now, though, has to do with audiobooks. So Cindy has always narrated her own audiobooks, and today she is going to talk to you about how you can do the same and or discover other avenues on how to make revenue from audiobooks. She has found a huge successful outlet in her audiobook production, and the craziest part about it is she has all of her audiobooks online for free. Her readers can listen to them all on YouTube, and despite that, her audiobooks were making up to 60% of her annual income, meaning they were one of the strongest parts of her author business. And in the last few years, she's already found success from her writing, and audiobooks were just the icing on that cake. And that's a lot of icing. In this interview, Cindy and I talk about the real barriers to getting started, the time, the money, the intimidating learning curve, and how to overcome each of them. We're going to talk about how the average author can record their own audiobooks. It's so much easier than you think. So if cost has always been a barrier for you, this is an option that you can possibly look at that doesn't involve AI. We chat really briefly about AI, but it's definitely not the focus of our conversation. We take a look at the pros and cons of recording yourself, how going wide with audio distribution can be a game changer for you, and Cindy will also describe the strategy that she uses on YouTube as a free discovery tool and how posting her full audiobooks on YouTube has actually made more income, not less, as you might expect. So whether or not you've been thinking about using audiobooks as part of your revenue stream, whether you have audiobooks already that maybe you could utilize through other platforms, or maybe you are just looking for another stream of revenue to boost your author career, this conversation is packed with practical advice. We really cover a lot of ground during this conversation. I wish I had 3 hours to chat with Cindy because she is just a wealth of information when it comes to audiobooks. And we didn't even get to the other pillars of her career because I know that she has so much going on. And it was an absolutely fun conversation, and I know you're going to enjoy it too. Sit back and settle in, and let's get into the conversation. But don't skip fast forward yet, because I do want to chat to you about a very important sponsor, me. As you know, I'm an author myself, and one of the pillars of my own author career has been Kickstarter. So if you're a fan of fantasy books and special editions, you're going to want to check this out. I currently have a pre-launch page up for my own Kickstarter for Flower and Forge, which is a cozy fantasy adventure about discovering where we truly belong and the friends we make along the way. I've run 2 previous campaigns for my cozy fantasy novels, one for The Bartender Between Worlds, and the other one is for The Greatest Pub in the Multiverse. These are all foil hardcover special editions with color illustrations, color chapter headings, and colored end papers. And I have got even more goodies to share with you for Flower and Forge. We always have a great time, but I do ask that you go check that out. Just head to Kickstarter.com and search for Flower and Forge, or you can check the link below in the description, or you can head to my website, hermanstuernagel.com/newsletter to stay up to date on all my upcoming books and campaigns. So now, let's get on with the interview. So, Cindy Gunderson, welcome here to the Pint and Portal Author Podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today.
I am so excited to be here. I love the name of the podcast, by the way. That's really
Yeah,
great. Did you come up with
thank
that
you.
because of your cozy fantasy?
I did. So the Pint and Portal is the pub in the greatest pub in the multiverse. So I thought it's the pub that connects to the multiverse. So I thought this is the perfect channel to connect to the multiverse of other authors and their worlds and to, find out what they're all about. So that's the name brought to real life. So we are
Yep.
connecting through the multiverse here. You bet.
Amazing, which we kind of are. We're in different
We are.
countries. So,
It's amazing to think about, like I've talked to people in the US, Australia, the UK, we're talking to people in Ecuador, all over the place. So
yeah,
it's really
that's
amazing, right?
amazing. Yes,
Yeah.
incredible. So
We
cool.
take for granted what we can do with technology now.
Yep, for real. I just wrote a series that was set in the 90s and it was surprisingly difficult. Like, I mean, it creates some really great tension because you don't have that instant communication.
Hmm.
But it was like so difficult to remember how life used to be before we had instant access to everything. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of what wasn't possible and what wasn't doable in the 90s,
Yeah.
or even until recently, what I wanted to talk to you today, Cindy, was about audiobooks because
Yes.
you've been doing some really cool things with audiobooks on a number of different platforms.
Yep.
And so, what I want to talk to you today about is how authors can utilize audiobooks in maybe ways that they didn't realize. And I know that for a lot of authors, especially those who are maybe not successful yet, cost is a barrier to entry, or they're wondering, if they have to go exclusive to Audible, or there's so many
Yeah.
questions that
Yes.
authors have. But maybe to start us off, can you give us, maybe for an author who's listening who has been considering doing audiobooks, maybe there's a number of barriers in their way. Can you maybe just kind of give us a brief introduction as to why audiobooks might still be an option for them?
Yeah, totally. So I'll just say, I don't think there's been a better time to do audio, at least, previously. Maybe there will be a better time in the future. But right now, the number of tools and the ease of accessibility of those tools is just unmatched. And, we can talk about everything from like human narration all the way to AI narration, because I think there's a place for both. I get asked all the time, like, "Are you completely against AI narration because you're a narrator?" And no, the answer is no, because I think there are so many ways that AI is helping make things more accessible for people that couldn't do it otherwise. So I think all of those options are great, and you just kinda have to decide what your strategy is and what you want it to do for your author brand. So that was kind of the
Right.
first question that I asked was like, okay, when I started to make audiobooks, yes, there are a ton of barriers. It's like, number one, it's going to take time, right? Even if you're hiring a
Yes.
narrator or doing it yourself, it's going to take time because you're going to have to prepare your manuscript and communicate that with them and all of those things. So it takes more time for sure. And then most likely it's going to cost you more money unless you decide to do it yourself. But even when you do it yourself, there is upfront cost, right? To creating your studio
Right.
or getting your equipment or whatever. And there are options for not spending a ton of money, but it's going to cost something. So you've got
Right.
time, you've got money. There's going to be a learning curve, right? So it's going to
Hmm.
cost mental space because you're going to have to learn some new things. So those are just like some of the barriers. And then there are all these
Right.
other ones too about like, okay, well, I have to figure out the distribution. I have to figure out audio covers. I have to figure out
Yeah.
all of those other things too. So it's kind of like everything in your author business. As soon as you start doing something new, there's going to be those costs. But
So,
for me, the benefit
yeah.
is huge, right?
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, before we get, we'll dig a bit deeper into probably not all of those
Mhm.
things, but we'll dig a bit deeper into how we can overcome some of those barriers.
Yes.
But I think that's a good overview for people who are, wondering, they're seeing these barriers and maybe one of those barriers or all of those barriers is something
Yeah.
that they're struggling with right now.
Yeah.
I want to talk, let's back up just a little bit because I think that's something for, listeners to expect. But I guess let's talk about you for a moment.
Sure.
Let's talk about your writing journey and where you've come from. Because you've been writing for a number of years and you have quite a few titles behind
Yeah.
you right now. How did you give us I guess, just a short history of your writing journey, and
Sounds
then
great.
maybe tell us a little bit about what made you decide to go into audiobooks as
Yes.
another platform?
Absolutely. Well, short history is, right before COVID, I realized that a lot of the things that I was doing to have like creative outlets was because I hadn't yet found the thing that I was most passionate about yet, right? And when I started, I had some ideas and I started writing those down with the support of my husband and just absolutely fell in love with that process. And one of my life mantras is I don't have to do this forever. And so whenever I start a new project or something, I'm like, if I hate it, then I can stop, right? I don't have to do it.
Age.
And
Yeah.
I still don't hate it. I still love it. And so I've just continued
Yeah.
I've
That's
continued to do it.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah, which I'm sure you felt the same way, right? It's like you start this and
Definitely.
it's just so amazing. And so I still love it, but I started out doing kind of dystopian, which is how we met through
Yes.
like that dystopian connection at one of the first conferences I went to.
5 or 6 years ago now, yeah.
Yep.
Right
Yep,
after it would have been right
exactly.
after. Did we meet at 20 Books, or did we chatted a bit before that, didn't we, though, on, like, through the dystopian groups and that?
Yes, I think we did.
Yeah,
I don't think we had met in person, but I think there had been
right.
some chatter there because that's how we knew to get together when we were in
Yeah, that's right.
Vegas.
Yeah, so that would have been, like, 2021, I think, was the
Yep,
first one I went
I
to.
think
Yeah,
so. Yep, I think so, and I released my first book in 2019, so it took me a little while to, like, actually decide I wanted to make a career of it because initially it was
right.
just kind of like maybe a hobby, and then I
Totally.
decided that I wanted to make it a career, and that's actually how I got into audio because so backstory on me, I've been a music instructor and a performer for my entire life. And so acting and singing and piano and all of those things has just been a huge part of my life. And I taught for a long time, but that just became very inconvenient with kids because people want lessons after school. And that's when you also want to be with your family, right?
For sure.
So I stopped teaching, but all of those skills, so when people tell you like, "Oh, you can't, use these artistic skills in the real world to make money," false. You totally can because when I decided I wanted my books to be a business, like audio was one of the biggest considerations because it
Right.
is the fastest growing segment of publishing. And so I just felt if I was going to get my books out there, I really needed to have them in audio. And I think most authors kind of understand that at this point, right?
Yeah,
That it's just such a booming industry. So that's when I started looking at it more seriously. And I realized that all of the people who were doing narration had similar backgrounds and credentials to what I had, right? Like they
right.
had also been actors and performers and whatever. And so I was like, I think I could actually do this, but I need to learn the audio engineering piece. And so I just started looking up resources on how to do that. And I had a couple of friends who were great mentors to me. One who works here at CU Denver and does audio engineering, and he helped me with a bunch of stuff like setting up my DAW, like my Logic Pro.
Hmm.
So that was really helpful. So I'm so grateful to those people that helped me learn in the beginning. But yeah, it was like the cost barrier for me was the biggest. And
Yes.
I felt like I couldn't spend thousands of dollars on something that I didn't know if it was going to be successful yet. And I think a lot of authors
Yeah.
feel that way.
100%. Well, I mean, I definitely felt that way as well, and I think that I mean, you're absolutely right. It's expensive, sometimes more expensive to do the audiobook than the actual book itself.
Yep.
Um,
Totally.
so how do you suggest that somebody listening to this now, I think, first of all, I think it's probably worth saying that if your book isn't selling, your audiobook is probably not gonna sell either.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
Yep.
but I think, for let's say for the listener who has a book that's selling, but maybe not quite enough that they can really know if an audiobook is going to do well enough, what are some options that they have? Because I know that you have started to talk about a few of those things in your own spheres of influence. So
Yes.
what kind of options would I have?
Totally. So before I answer that question, let me just say
Sure.
that when I started putting out audio, my books were actually not selling. And
Okay.
and it was like a decision because I knew that. I knew that the audiobooks weren't necessarily going to make me a ton of money, but it
Mhm.
comes back to that question of like why do you want to do audio and how is it going to influence your brand as an author? And
Okay.
I looked at it as like, okay, I actually want to learn this skill so that when my books are good enough, right, or not even good enough, but I'm like doing it to market, right? I'm actually
Yes.
able to sell them, then I have that option. So what better time to start learning, right? So I
Right.
would just
Yeah.
say that like you've got nothing to lose if your books are not selling because there's nobody like expecting some big quality of work from you. And so why
Okay.
not try something new? So there's that.
Yeah.
But, like, number 2, I really felt like if audio was such a big thing, then I wanted to get into that right in the beginning and improve that along with what I was already doing. So I think even if your books aren't selling, there are reasons to go into audio, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you for that. What I said, I guess it depends on you, what your goals are
Yeah,
as well then,
that's
right?
exactly
Yeah.
right. What are you trying to accomplish? And for me, I just felt like having that audio, I wanted it to be a part of my author brand. I wanted people to listen to my stories because it was
Yeah.
me telling them. And so there's that piece of it. But what are your options if you're in that situation where your books are not selling and you are just like wanting to do audio but don't know? Okay, so the first one obvious is AI. Right? Doing AI, very low cost, and you can produce it very quickly with very little time, right? So all of those barriers kind of get minimized doing AI. Now, the major con of that is that, there's a lot of conflict about whether your reader's going to like an AI voice. Is the quality going to be good? I would argue that the quality is becoming exponentially better, like by the day. So I think you can get a high quality product, but what is it going to accomplish for your brand? And that's the question. Because for me, I wanted my audio to build a connection with my reader. I wanted it to bring them into my brand. I'm not going to be able to accomplish that with AI. So if your only goal is accessibility and making sure that you have a piece in that market, awesome. Right now, AI voices are not available on every platform either, right? So
Right.
if you do it through Audible or ACX, then you have to use their voice, right? Their AI voices. So you can't go wide with that. So you'd have to make two separate, audiobooks
Yeah.
to be able to do that. But I think like the other option is to self-narrate, which is the option that I chose if you don't want to spend a
Hmm.
bunch of money. And I talk a lot about the benefits of self-narration at different conferences and on my social media and stuff like that. I think it makes you
Yeah.
a better writer. It makes you a better writer. It's a last pass in
Yeah.
editing. You would not believe the stuff that I catch narrating, even when I was working with a publisher, I kept my audio rights and like caught crazy stuff in scenes that I needed to fix
Right.
that were not fixed by that editor.
Yeah.
So I think that there's that benefit. I think it helps you connect with your readers in new ways, right? So many
Yeah, for
benefits
sure.
there.
For sure. Yeah. I want to take a step back. I want to talk quick. I just want to pull on a couple things with the AI narration because I think
Yeah,
it's
sure.
important for people listening. Um, I think two things about it that I just want to mention. I know, I think it was Readsy or Written
Mhm.
Word Media. One of the two had just done a survey of readers about AI narration. And it
Yeah.
was something like 80% of readers said that they wouldn't touch an AI narrated book,
Yeah.
which is
Yep.
a huge chunk of the market. So I think that people need to realize that it's gonna turn off readers and you might be alienating your readership. Like you said, I think it does come down to what your goal is and what your brand as an author is.
Yes.
Um,
Exactly. Well, and I'll just say too, like I'm not sure who those survey participants were, but I think it's largely determined by market. So, like if you've got stuff on Audible, like I would guess that that market is the least interested in AI voices. I don't know for sure, but that would be my guess. But when you've got people listening for free on YouTube or Spotify, I don't know that they care as much. Do you know what I mean?
hmm,
So
maybe,
again,
yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
whatever goal, because I know some people that are doing really well in those spaces
Okay.
with AI
Yeah,
narrated
right.
audiobooks. So
So it
so
depends.
again,
So
I
it's
think
about
it's like
knowing your
where
market again.
yep. Yep. It's like
Yeah, okay.
where am I wanting to put this? What am I trying to accomplish? And I would use that as your determining
Yeah,
factor.
right. And I don't know if I'm guessing things have changed and gotten better in the last few years, but I know when I was first just kind of looking at what thing, just because I wanted to know what was
Sure.
possible, it's not like a one click and it just reads your book. You've got to edit. There was still editing and that sort of thing. So it wasn't a quick process. Now that is probably improved because that was a few years ago when this was first being introduced and I was just wondering what it was about. But I'm sure that's improved. But there is some editing and that sort of thing involved if you're
Yep.
looking at that route, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, it's like, what do you want to accomplish? If you're just trying to make it accessible and like you don't care if all the words are pronounced correctly or whatever,
Mm,
again, genre. If you're doing like a rom-com, like when I'm looking at my rom-com books, like those would probably be one click because there's not any weird words, there's not any weird names. But if you're doing a fantasy book, that's going to require a lot more editing.
right, right. Yeah, and then so let's I guess so that's yeah, I just wanted to mention those two things because I think
Sure.
for yeah, because at the time, like I played around with it a little bit, and it was just you had to spend a certain number of credits to do a certain number of words, and then
Yep.
you had to like splice things together, and the voice would change slightly, and you would have to like know how to do
Yeah.
audio editing. It's
It's
probably
not
not
that way
that complex
anymore.
anymore.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
a lot better now because I have used, 11 Labs AI voices for translated books. So, I've fooled around with, like, my voice clone doing German or doing French or something like that, again, just to make it accessible. I just barely started doing stuff like that. I don't know if it will be successful or not, but I just figured,
hmm,
if I 'cause a some narrators are putting their voices up for use in those places for people to be able to use their voice clones, and again, another way for narrators to make money
right,
by
yeah,
scaling their
because they're
business, right?
licensing their own voices, right?
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah,
and
okay,
so I'm like, "Well, I wanna," like, I haven't licensed my voice, but, because I still again, it's like, for me, it's my brand, and so I want
right,
it to be for my stuff, but I'm like, "That could be really cool, though, if it can make some of these other books in other languages accessible." It's kind of ridiculous how few books are in these other languages compared to the US market, and so
right.
another pro of, like, technology, right? Maybe it can increase
Yeah,
availability for those readers.
interesting, really interesting.
Yeah.
So let's go back to self-narration
Yes.
because I know you narrate yourself, and I'm sure there are authors who are listening and thinking, "Well, that's great for you, Cindy. I don't have
Yes.
acting training. I didn't go to college for theater,
Yes.
and I don't speak clearly. I really narrate my own audiobook?"
Yeah. Well, and to that, I would say again, there has never been a better time for you to get into this new skill because, like you just mentioned, there are a lot of readers that do not like AI voices and who want to support humans creating art. So, guess what? If you're a human voice, it doesn't matter if it's perfect right now. They're just
Hmm,
so grateful that it's a human voice instead of an
yeah,
AI voice.
interesting.
And so I think, like, maybe 5 years ago, people would have been really picky about you putting out an audiobook not being a perfect narrator. But now, like, I think people are just so grateful that it's a human voice. So, is there gonna
Interesting.
be a learning curve? Yes. Are you gonna have to increase those skills? Yes. But if you're not perfect at it, like I was not perfect at it when I started. I go back and listen to those books and they're pretty bad compared to what I do now, especially with the
Yeah.
audio engineering piece. And, like, just learning how to, like, record your voice is very different than performing on stage, and so,
Hmm,
yeah, like, there's a learning curve, but it's so cool to have readers that have stuck with me through the whole process and are just like, "I can't believe, like, how much better you've gotten." Like, it's this opportunity for connection.
right.
So,
Yeah,
I say go for it. And I think
that's really
honestly,
cool.
like, the biggest rubric for me would be like, "Do you enjoy this? Do you
Hmm,
enjoy this? Is it something that," 'cause for me, it's so nice to be able to switch from writing to narrating, to do something different and
right.
see my story in a new way, and it's like automatic feedback for my writing, it's automatic character work, it's automatic editing, it's like all of these things that come with it that for me are now invaluable. It's like when people say, "I don't have time to narrate," I'm like, "You don't have time not to narrate because it's gonna improve everything that you do." So and provide connection with your readers. So I think, like, the benefits by far outweigh the fear, the new skill, all of those things.
Yeah, I mean, you raised so many good points there. But I think, one piece of editing advice that I've often heard is reading your own work back to
Yes,
yourself.
that's
And if you're
exactly.
narrating your own book, of course, you're reading it back to yourself and you can make those adjustments as you go if possible, if you haven't locked into something where you can't update your text. So I
Yes.
think that's a great point. So now how do let's say that I'm going to give it a shot. I know it's going to be a time commitment. I know that it's going to be maybe a stretch of my skills. It's not something I'm feeling very comfortable. Do I go and rush out and buy thousands of dollars worth of equipment to get started, or what's the first step?
Yeah, I would not. I would not go out and rush out and get a bunch of equipment. Whenever I do something new in my business, again, I told you, I'm like, my mantra is I don't have to do this forever, but I always like make a commitment of like, I have to give it enough time to make sure that I know if I like it or not, right? So if I start a new social media channel, I'm like, I have to do this for 6 months. And then I can decide whether I'm going to continue it or not. If it is moving the needle, if it's making me happy, like all these different metrics, right? And with narration, I would say it's that way. Like, there are some people that jump into it, absolutely love it. There are some people that are pretty neutral, but they love that they get a free audiobook at the end of it. And
Right.
there are some people that just really don't like it, and you don't know which one you are. And so, no, definitely do not go out and buy a ton of equipment. The cool thing about self narration is that you can do it really well without having to spend, I always say like plan on spending about 600 bucks. And if you can spend 600 bucks, that will be like all the equipment that you would need forever if you never wanted to upgrade it. And it'll give
Yeah.
you high enough quality, like you won't ever have to upgrade if you don't want to.
Right.
You can also do it for cheaper than that, but if you can spend between like $400 and $600, then you're going to have really high quality sound, which means a lot less
Right.
editing on the back end. And
Yeah.
I've started
Okay.
posting all of my, so I have a course that's audiobooks for authors, but that's something that I did for a year and decided I actually don't love running a course. Like I don't love charging people the money. Like I kind of just want to like have this accessible for people because it's always changing stuff too. I didn't really love like going in and updating it. And so I decided to start putting those videos on my YouTube channel. So those are going up on my YouTube channel. And I also have an equipment list at like different price points and things like that I'm putting up there as well. So people
Yeah.
can look and say, okay, I only have $100 to spend. Perfect. This is what you can do. Right. But
Right.
if you're
So
willing to
that's
spend
600.
six,
Yeah, so yeah, that $600 is more like that will get you everything you need basically to do a
yeah,
professional sounding
exactly.
recording, essentially.
Yep.
But let's say, if someone wants to try it out to see if it's something they're even comfortable doing it, maybe they can just use their like their iPod headphones or something to record the first couple chapters or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
is that
Just see if
something
they
that
enjoy
people
it.
can do just to like get a feel for the process, or what do you think?
I would say if you're going to try it to see if you like it, at least get a mic that will give you something that you could use. So if you decide not to do the whole book, that's totally fine. But like you could use those recordings for book trailers. You could use them for social media. You could use them for like little snippet teasers on YouTube, right? So
Yeah.
I never do anything that I'm not going to be able to use again. So I mean, you could just read it out loud for fun to see if you like narrating. But if you're gonna record
Mm,
it, then I would maybe get like a $30, $50 mic, and just
yeah.
like at least give it a try to like hear yourself sounding good and to be able to use that for something else.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point because those recordings aren't necessarily useless if you don't use it for an
Right.
audiobook. You can use it for your own marketing, and I think that's important. And I think that, having an author reading their own book, even if, I mean, you think it sounds goofy,
Yep.
readers are going to love that,
Yep.
regardless if that's the audiobook or not.
That's exactly right, and, like, lean
Yeah.
into the goofiness, right? Like, I would also say record yourself because, again, you can cut that into snippets for social media. I do mine live. I started out doing mine live on, like, TikTok. I do it on YouTube and Instagram sometimes now too, and, I think there's nothing better than just, like, jumping in and being like, "I'm gonna be bad at this. It's
Mm,
okay, and I'm gonna let people see that I'm bad at it." Like, that immediately kills any perfectionism or fear, and I think when you're in that space, then you're able to actually give it a solid try because you're like, "Okay, if I sound silly, who cares? We're gonna laugh about it because my readers are with me right now, and this is hilarious," right?
right.
Like,
Yeah.
way better opportunity for connection.
For sure. And yeah, you're exactly right. That's going to kill any of that imposter syndrome because people are there with you and they're hopefully cheering you on
Yes.
because they know you're not taking it super seriously.
Yep, exactly, and if you jump into that, I mean, I would say that that's how if you wanna be successful at writing, that's kinda how you have to approach it too. It's like this is an
Mm,
art form, it's constantly changing, there's no perfect way to do this, And so
Yeah.
if I just accept that from the get-go, then I can be curious about it. I can try a bunch of different new things and see what happens and then decide if I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that, and I like that approach. Yeah, so I think, for any authors who are looking at options, it might be worth setting up a modest studio space. And I guess that's the other question. I'll get back to that in a minute. But setting up something that is functional that you can try out, and then because if you do like it, now you have a lot of that equipment. It's a one-time investment. You don't have to rebuy all that stuff for every
Exactly.
book that you do, right? Yeah.
That's exactly right.
So how about studio space? Because I know a lot of the platforms are picky about the sound quality. What do you need to set up in order to record in a space?
Yeah. So I will tell you, my first audiobooks that I did in my living room with no sound treatment, big walls, vaulted ceiling, all the things that you shouldn't have. I bought just one mic stand with one of those like little curved foam things that you can attach on the mic stand. Put my mic in there. I put a pillow on top of the foam thing and I just read into that, right? That was all I had. It cost me
Hmm.
maybe like $45.
Nice.
So so
Yeah.
that's what I did, right?
Great. Yeah.
And that was all I did for, like, my first 5 or 6 audiobooks,
Wow.
and then
Nice.
they were accepted, they were fine. Now is the audio quality great? No. When I go back and listen to it, I'm kind of horrified by it, but it worked, and it was accepted, and it
Yeah.
was fine. And I've left
Great.
them up, I haven't redone those because 'cause I'm like, "We're moving forward, not backward," right?
Right. That's good to know
But
because I think a lot of people think they need to start out with a, you know, soundproof space that's not
right.
gonna that that's you're in a closet, you hear people in their closet recording, which I
Yes.
know you can do and people
Yep.
do. But it's nice to know that, if you're just at a point where you're just looking to have an audiobook,
Yeah.
that you don't need to rent out or buy a studio space necessarily, right?
That's exactly right. And then when you decide like, "Hey, this is something I really love," like, then I decided to buy a better mic. I decided to buy, a better, like, preamp, and I decided to have, like, my husband built, like, kind of a ramshackle little studio for me using some audio blankets and 2 by 4s, right? So I still didn't spend, like, a crazy amount of money. I used what I
Right.
had and invested in the pieces that would give me the best quality input, and that's what I use to this day. Like, I've
Cool.
produced
Yeah.
like 55 audiobooks at this point, and most of them have been on that setup, but it just works great.
Yeah.
And so there's no
Right.
reason to spend more.
That's awesome. I want to move a little bit because I know that we don't have a ton of time today, but I do want to move a little bit into distribution because I know you've done some different things with distribution that have worked really well for you. So let's say now that I have an audiobook, whether I had someone else record it, I recorded it, however I've obtained it, I have an audiobook. What are my options and what I guess should authors consider when they're looking at distribution?
Yeah. Well, this is another thing that is changing all the time. So I can tell you because if you would have talked to me 3 months ago, I probably would have even said something different than what I'm saying right
Hmm.
now. So
Okay.
just keep that in mind that, like, you know, conferences and groups and all those things are really great because you hear what's happening now.
Right now,
Because
yeah.
it's such a huge booming piece of publishing, like, there are just places, distributors, new platforms popping up all the time. So what I like obviously you have the ACX piece, right? For me, I went like exclusive with ACX for a number of years, was not really making very much money off of audio, but partially because, I wasn't writing perfectly to market yet. But my audio was like still bringing in a lot of like social media followers and stuff like that. So that was great.
Hmm. Yeah.
But then it was kind of like probably when we met at that conference when I was like, okay, I really want this to be a business. What do I need to do? That's when I decided to go non-exclusive from ACX because I just saw all of these other opportunities. Like Chirp was getting bigger. There were a lot of like libraries. I mean, there were just all of these other opportunities for audio. And so I went non-exclusive. And within 1 month, my income tripled for audio.
Wow.
Yep, and so that was, like, huge. I was like, "Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, like, this is awesome. I'm gonna start" and I still wasn't making big numbers, but, like, that's a huge increase, right?
It's a big jump, right? Especially when you consider that when you're exclusive with ACX, they pay you more per
Right.
it's just like when you're in KU, right? They pay you
Yeah, it's
more
like
per
70 instead
sale
of, like or 40
instead of
instead of
30 or
25. Yeah,
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 something like that, right? Yeah, so I mean that you still even with because I think a lot of authors might be concerned that if they pull out of ACX, their income's gonna drop in half because they're getting half the royalties, but you more than made
right.
up for the difference using other
Yes.
platforms. That's cool to
More
hear.
than made up for you. And now,
Yeah.
like, well, it's crazy because things just changed with their all you can listen program, right?
Okay.
And so that has like astronomically increased my income on Audible, which I know some people are talking really
Hmm.
negatively about that. For me, it's been great. So
Really? Okay.
yeah, like for sure my Audible listens are going up like crazy and I'm making way more on
Hmm.
Audible than I ever have
Oh
with
wow.
that
Well, that's
program, which is yeah, it's really cool.
yeah.
I'm sure again that depends on like your genre and I will say the books that are doing really well on the all you can listen program are shorter books. And I think for Audible for a long time people only had one credit and so they had to
Yes.
try and like maximize that credit. Now that it's all you can listen, now they're like, "Hey, I'll just listen to a whole bunch of these."
Mm-hmm.
My top 3 books on Audible right now are my 3 books that are under 4 hours, which I find
Really?
really
Wow.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, kind of fascinating to think about like diversifying length as well as like, content. I don't know.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
fooling
Very
around with that.
interesting.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
then
Okay.
Findaway Voices or a distributor like that, I know there are a few different options. I personally use Findaway, but I think there are a
Mm.
lot of different options for distributing that wide. That's
Yes.
been really great for me and doing things like chirp
Yeah.
deals have been awesome. So so good.
Right.
I'm right now working on, like, trying to increase my visibility with, like, Barnes& and Noble and Hoopla and all those other places. So, there are just a lot of really amazing opportunities for me going wide was the answer, and once you go wide, you can put it anywhere. Like, I have it on YouTube, I have it on my personal website, which it's always available earlier on my website than it is anywhere else, and then I have it in every place that I possibly can. The only
Right.
con to that is that you're having to publish audio files everywhere, right? And when you upload or update something or whatever, new cover, you have to do it everywhere. So,
Everywhere.
so it does increase the workload
Yeah.
that way, but it's been great.
Right. Okay. So a few things that I just want to clarify for listeners. I think Findaway Voices is called In Audio now. So I
Oh my
think if you
gosh, yeah,
search
I
for
use
Findaway
the
Voices,
it's voices in
yeah,
audio. Yeah, I
yeah.
don't know why I
So if
use
you
that
search
old
for
name.
Findaway Voices, I think you'll still
Yeah,
it'll still
you'll
come
find
up, but
it.
just
But
just for
it's been
listeners
that
who
way
have
for a
not,
while, so that's kind of funny that I said the old
it's
name from forever
it's been
ago.
about a year. It's not been that long,
Yeah.
Cindy. And then Chirp is, I think they're owned by BookBub. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so
If they're
it's a
not owned, they're connected because the way that you
right.
submit chirp deals is through your BookBub partner dashboard. Yep.
Yeah. So, and yeah, even for listeners, if you're not producing your audiobook, you should know about them because they have amazing deals on their audiobooks. I get half of my audiobooks from Chirp. Um, so now backing up, I guess, a little bit into some of the nerdy details. So I'd only use right now ACX and In Audio
Yep.
or Findaway Voices.
Yep.
And so you're saying though that you're uploading it more than those two places.
Well,
Where else are
yeah.
you uploading it to?
Yeah, so now I upload direct with Spotify as well because they split, right? So they used to be
Right.
part
Yeah,
of the
that's
same thing. So I upload direct with Spotify as well. And then there's also, oh, what is it called? I just barely started looking at, there are a couple of other distributors that hit some audiobook sites that are not included in that distribution. And I know there are like 4 or 5 of them that kind of distribute audio to different places that maybe, so it's just like they all kind of overlap with who they're distributing to, but there are a
right.
few that you can upload to and then I do YouTube too. So there's
Yeah.
YouTube, there's Spotify, there's Voices. I think you can do audio through Draft to Digital, can't you? I think that they might
I think
actually
I think you can. Do they have different retailers connected than an audio does?
they
Yeah, I'd have
might.
to
So
look
I'm
into
like,
that.
all of those places, I haven't uploaded audio to Draft to Digital yet, but I that was on my list to look into.
Option anyway. Yeah.
And then there's like, you can also obviously to your own website, right? So I upload to my own
Right.
website through,
Yes.
I use BookFunnel for distribution for that. So that's already like, 4 different places plus
Yeah.
ACX. Yeah.
Right. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Now, I want to talk quickly about YouTube a little bit as well, because you upload your audiobooks to your YouTube channel for anyone to listen to for free, yet you're still making revenue from
Yes.
your audiobooks despite that.
Yes. I would say actually partially because of it.
Okay.
So there
So
are a
tell
lot
us
of
more.
people.
Tell us more about
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
There are a lot of people that say, like, well, if you offer it for free, then, nobody's going to go and buy from these other places. But, like, for anybody listening, if you have never listened to an audiobook on YouTube, ask yourself why that is. It's usually because you have a platform that you really like, right? So you're using Chirp or you're using Audible or you're using your library. And it's pretty difficult to get somebody to switch from a platform that they like because it's just so simple. They have their system down, they know what to expect. And
Hmm.
that's how it is with all of those audio platforms. So
Right.
that's why going wide has been really helpful because you're capturing a brand new audience in each of those places. There's the people that love
Right.
Chirp, there's the people that love Audible, the people that only go through Overdrive or Libby. And then YouTube is that way. It's a totally different audience that they don't really go to those other places. So
Yeah.
there is like a little bit of overlap, but not a ton. So what I
But you've
find on
seen
my
an
YouTube,
oh
go ahead.
sorry. I was gonna say, but you've seen an uptick in revenue since you've started posting to YouTube.
Huge. Yes, huge. 'Cause and you can go on any of my videos and, like, scroll down and, like, without fail, you will find a comment that says, "I loved this so much that I went and bought the paperbacks," or, "I loved this so much that I bought this for my mom for Christmas," or right? So it's like it's
Yeah.
free advertising for your books, and again, when you're going wide with your audio, why not advertise for free? You have to pay for click ads everywhere else, but YouTube is free. They push your
Hmm.
stuff for you. So if you kind of look at it as free advertising instead of I'm supposed to be making money off of this, then it becomes just something that you can love and then you end up making money you end up making money off of it because of the
Yeah.
monetization that you can eventually get, right? So YouTube is like one of my top 3 income revenue sources for
Really?
my month.
Wow. Wow. And so now is that just through ad revenue or how are you making money off of YouTube?
Yeah, it's well, and it's in my top 3 for audio sales, right? So
Yeah,
between
right.
that and, like, voices and ACX, but it's the ad revenue fully. So it's like you have mid-roll ads in your books, and then you have the ad that shows at the beginning of it, and it's just through listen time. So the more people listen, the more ad revenue you make, and it's funny because there are certain types of content that will give you more cost per, like, hour listened, like more ad revenue. And depending on the quality of your content, that influences it as well. What a lot of people don't understand is like when you tell YouTube that these are ads that you can place in my video, it doesn't automatically mean that those ads are going to get filled. And so people are like, well, I've posted these audiobooks and I'm monetized, but I'm not making any money. I'm like, it's probably because you don't have as high quality like ad places. And so you're going to have to work on like getting more engagement in your channel so that advertisers say, yes, like I want to, those metrics mean I want to advertise there. Right.
Right. Interesting. So when you say ad quality, what does that mean? Like, are you talking, or I mean, video quality? Are you
Like,
talking
yeah.
about the quality of your performance, or the quality of like how many views and comments it already has, or what is that? What's that
Yeah.
actually looking like?
Well, I think it's like any social platform that, like, if you're better at, for example, the description and the title and the thumbnail, if you're better at capturing attention, then you're going to bring more people into your channel. And then you need to back it up with a really good book and things that people want to listen to, right? But there are a lot
Hmm.
of things that are fully within your control that you can do to kind of increase that engagement and click through rate on your channel. So if you can start to do those things better, and that is just like testing, right? Just like lots and lots of testing, then that brings more people in and you'll get a higher click through rate, which I think YouTube really likes. And if you have a really good, product that they're clicking through to, then they're going to stay and they're going to
Right.
subscribe and they're going to listen to your stuff as soon as you post it. And so when you start to get that kind of flourishing channel, that for me has really increased the, rate that I'm getting paid on those ads.
Okay, that's really interesting. So I guess the other thing I wanted to ask you about YouTube and running your books on YouTube, you need a minimum. I think they reduced it. It's like 500 subscribers that you need now to
Yeah, but
do ads. Is that
technically, like, you're not actually gonna make very much money until you're over those other thresholds anyway. So it's like you can be monetized, but, like, are you really gonna get anything? Not really. Yeah, but you have to have, I think, 4,000 watch hours and then 500 subscribers is what the current
okay?
threshold is.
So do you recommend that authors try to build up their subscribe count before they put their audiobooks on YouTube? Or is that how you built your subscriber count is by putting your audiobooks up?
Yeah, that's how I built it. I mean, I started from nothing and it took a long time to be able to get to that point. It was 1,000 subscribers. Like the watch hours went up way faster than the subscribers did. It takes a lot of time to convince people. Like, think how many things you watch that you never subscribe to, right? Like, even
Totally.
just thinking
Yeah.
about your own patterns, it's like it takes a lot for somebody to be like, I want to see you again and again and again. And so
Right.
if you just have that patience of like, I am going to earn your love and your trust, right? Like, I am
Yeah.
going to do what I need to do to earn that. And if it takes a little bit of time, that's okay because I'm learning and I don't really know what I'm doing. So you can be here with me while I do that. And then when I get really good at it, you'll be like convinced that you want to be here with
Right.
me. So for me, if I approach it that way, I feel like the subscribers and the watch hours come.
Hmm.
If you try to just reach a threshold, it can be really stressful because it's not actually in your control. Like, you don't
Right.
control whether people subscribe to your channel, but you can control like how much good energy and like growth and good stories that you can put out there. And I think if you focus on that piece of it, it becomes less frustrating.
Right. So are you only posting your audiobooks then to your channel, or do you have other types of videos that you're posting as well?
I do. Yep. Because
Yeah.
again, with that wide mentality, like I'm running TikTok channels, my Instagram, all of those things. And for me, again, I'm approaching that as like a testing ground. I'm not worried so much about like getting a result. I'm worried about what I can learn from having
Hmm.
like my fingers on the pulse of my readers in those spaces. So I'm
Yeah.
constantly testing content. So why not also have it post to my YouTube channel? Right.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
test that
Okay.
content. I have it post to my YouTube channel as shorts. I use like the YouTube first comment I use Vista Social to post to all those places. And
Okay.
so there's an option to have YouTube first comment. So in that first comment, I say, listen to the whole story here.
Nice.
I have a link in the description and the first comment. And so I think that that brings people into my channel too. But
Okay.
more often than not, it also just increases visibility where people go and buy my book elsewhere. So
Right.
sometimes it brings them to
Yeah.
my channel. Sometimes they'll go buy the book somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, I think YouTube Shorts is an underutilized social media platform,
Yes.
especially when you can just repurpose your reels and your TikToks.
Why not?
And my reach is always bigger on YouTube than it is on either of those other two platforms, which I do find strange, but hey, I'll keep
It's
uploading as
amazing.
long as people keep watching. The only thing is you
Yep.
can't repurpose on YouTube Shorts. That's the only disadvantage because I repurpose a lot of
Sure.
TikTok videos and
Yep.
YouTube knows right away and I'll
Yep.
get 2 views on it and so
Yep.
but as long as it's a
Yep.
fresh piece of content, yeah.
Yep. That's exactly
So
right.
now, sorry. So I do want to ask, so now, like before you were saying that what you had in ACX was barely making anything. What percentage of your author revenue now is coming from audiobooks?
Yeah. So last year, if you would have asked me this, I would have said well over 50%. It was like 60% of my income was audio from
Wow.
all of those
Wow.
places. But I recently, like in the fall, well, I guess it was kind of summer actually, I put my stuff back into KU and went like hard into doing some click ads because before that I had mostly been doing just social media. I wasn't really spending very much on advertising. It hadn't worked super well for me again because some of my books weren't super to market. But when I started doing some more marketable stuff, like some of my rom-coms and like my paranormal stuff, I decided to try it. And so that has like exploded my income on the like
Really?
KU side and ebook
Yeah.
side. A mixture of like doing some advertising plus having some books that were more marketable.
That's
So
awesome.
now I think that my audio is probably like 35%, 35 or 40%, but it's still a huge chunk.
That's still a huge
Yep.
percentage. So, for authors who are looking at, taking the IP that they have, the story that they have and reaching a new audience, it's definitely, something that you can use to increase your current revenue stream.
Yep. That's
Yeah,
exactly right.
very cool. Well, to wrap us up, Cindy, can you tell any authors who are maybe still thinking about using audiobooks, what might be your number one tip for people when they are looking at putting their books in audiobooks and maybe making a successful author career with audiobooks as a large or significant portion of that?
Yeah. I would say my number one tip is to sit down for like a half an hour with nothing else to do and just think about what you want audio to do for you in your career. Are you focusing on just making money? Do you just want it to make you more money? Because that's a very different choice than if you want it to be a part of your brand, or if you want to connect with your readers, or like there are so many reasons for doing, if you want it to be accessible. Like one of my reasons, part of the reason I chose YouTube was because my husband's an eye doctor. He works with people all day who can't see and who
Mm,
can't read anymore, right? And so
yeah.
accessibility was like actually a big decision factor for me. I wanted my stuff to be accessible for everybody. I didn't want them to have to pay a certain amount every month to have to access stories via audio. And
Right.
so that was why I did YouTube. So there could be a lot of personal reasons or big reasons for why you want to do it. And then narrow it down to trying like one strategy for a time, whether that's self narration, hiring somebody to just try it for like a few books and see what happens, and know that you can change your strategy at any point.
Hmm.
And it's not a lost cause because you're learning, right? So,
Yeah.
or lost cost, I guess. It's like, even if you pay somebody, well, you still have a product and you can make a different decision next time. So
Right.
just know that it's super flexible, and think about what you want your end game to be, and then make your decision accordingly. And it's okay if it changes.
For sure. I love that so much. And I think that is a great place to wrap things up. Thank you so much for joining me today, Cindy.
Yes.
This has been so much fun as always. And I know we could talk for hours about
Yes.
even just this topic alone. There's so much to cover, but I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me and hopefully giving people another perspective on audiobooks and how they can use it to help their author career.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. Thanks again.